Hello everybody, today I'm ranking Opeth's albums, and this video is taking so long to prepare because I knew I knew a lot of their albums already and listened, I already knew a lot, every song on them, but there was a couple albums that I didn't really listen to at all, for example Heritage. I didn't really listen to that except for one song, The Devil's Orchard, which I already knew, so I had to go back and listen to that, and I listened to all the albums that I didn't know that well. And then I also did listen. I re-listened to all the albums I did know, just to just to get it in my head even more. And I finally got the ranking down, and it took very long for me to decide between certain albums and stuff like that, and if I liked one better than the other and stuff like that. But anyway, Opeth is a band that really helped start the progressive death metal genre as a whole back when they made their first album, Orchid, in 1995. And they also helped form and mold the genre that is progressive metal. They really helped get progressive metal noticed more, and they're just a band that should not go unrecognized to anybody. They're such a good band, all so talented. Everybody that's been in the band and is currently in the band they're all so talented. And I first listened to Opeth, and I guess it's when I discovered them too. But it's the first time I remember listening to their songs. It was back when I was 11 years old, so it must have been 2013. And there was two songs I got into at around the same exact time. And I can't remember the specific month or anything, but I remember I was 11, so it must have been 2013. And one of the two songs had growling in it. And at the time, because I was younger, I didn't really like I didn't really like growls or screaming vocals or anything, but I think it's unique how I liked Opeth, and I liked that song with growls, but I didn't really like anything else at the time that had growls or screaming vocals. Full on growling and dark screaming vocals, I didn't like that, but I didn't mind that one song by Opeth, and I just think it's unique. I think some of it has to do with how progressive they are, and that they have such a progressive feel, and that they'll randomly go from heaviness going crazy to just soft acoustic and clean singing, and I think that must have been sort of comforting, and that's why I accepted it better. And now of course, now I've come to accept growling and screaming completely, and I'm completely fine with it. But back then, since I was younger, I didn't really love it that much. But I think it's just neat, and goes to show how cool of a band they are, and so diverse that they're able to pull people into certain genres that they may not like, and then start to like them, and start to like genres, and that's what happened to me. Now I think it's just neat how they're able to apply to so many people. I forgot to mention that you will most likely disagree with my ranking, just like anybody else's, because everybody has their own opinion. Remember, it's my opinion, and I'd really like to see your rankings in the comments, so tell me what you rank them worst to best. Tell me in the comments. So now let's get into the ranking. Okay, so number 12, which will not surprise a lot of people, and you probably already know it, so I just said that, is Heritage. And, by the way, I should say up front, just because I put an album at a low positioning, and I mean by, at 12, 11, 10, stuff like that are lower on the list, that are towards my least favorite, just because I put them at a low ranking doesn't mean I don't like them. And I actually like Heritage quite a bit. It's just my least favorite by Opeth. And yeah, by the way, if you see me look over here, it's because I have my iPad right here, and I have the albums pulled up just in case I forget where the albums are positioned and how long the songs are, and if I happen to forget a song name. So if you see me look over, that's why. This album's the first song I listened to off this album was The Devil's Orchard, and I really love that song. I think it's a great song, and it's probably my favorite off here, and it's a great song. And I'm trying to think, what are the songs great on here? The opening song's okay. Devil's Orchard, obviously, I just talked about. By the way, The Devil's Orchard, the solo at the end of it is so good. It's probably one of my favorite Opeth solos, honestly. And the whole song is just so good. I Feel the Dark is good. Slithers is a straight up speed metal song, a speed rock song. That came out of nowhere, but I'm not complaining. It's a good song. what is it, Nepenthe or whatever. I think it's a neat song, and I do like how it's like soft and then it goes into the little keyboard thing, and I do really like that. And something I forgot to mention is that one of my complaints about this album is that I feel like a lot of the songs follow the same I can't think of the word, the same like process, I guess, or I don't know, the same structure, where it's like it's kind of soft and quiet, and all of a sudden you'll hear a guitar or keyboard start fading in, and everything kicks in. And I feel like that happens just a bit too much on this album, just to where it becomes a bit repetitive. That's my only big complaint. Other than like, it's just, I think it's their weakest album. Famine is an okay song. Hack's Process, however you want to say that, is okay. Actually, some of that reminds me of Orion by Metallica. The instrumental at the end is good. Marrow of the Earth is okay. It's okay. Folklore is good, and The Lines in My Hand is a little neat song. And yeah, I mean, it's a good album, but I definitely think it's their weakest. And yeah, and obviously not a lot of people loved it just because it was their first album to not feature, Michael's growling, and yeah, it was just a straight up transition to more of a rock album. And I guess I could see a little bit of a metal influence on it, but I mean, it's mostly rock. I don't, yeah. Yeah, on to the next album. Number 11 might not surprise too many people, or it might, is Orchid. And it might not surprise too many people, because usually when I watch rankings on YouTube, it's usually placed around right here as well. And I do like this album, and it's their debut album. I didn't mention for anybody that doesn't know. It helped start progressive death metal, and I do see a bit of a black metal influence on it as well. There definitely is still some progressive elements with like long songs and random acoustic guitar breaks, and from him screaming crazy to singing very cleanly. And I, like I said, there is a bit of a black metal influence on this, and I'm not the biggest fan of black metal. It's just a bit too dark for me, but I still like this album. In the Mist She Is Standing is a great song. I really do like it. Under the Weeping Moon is one of my favorites off this album. Silhouette is a really neat, like, little piano song. I really do like it. Forest of October is my favorite off of here, definitely. That's a great song. It's a really good song. That's the first one I listened to off this album, also. The Twilight Is My Robe is cool. I really love the bass in that song. I mean, every song has great bass in it. Reclean is good. Or it's a good little transition, interlude song. The Apostle in Triumph is a neat song. Into the Frost of Winter is good too. A good ending. And this album is, I do like it. I do like it a lot. It's just not as good as the ones better than it, obviously, in my opinion. Yeah, on to the next album. Alright, number 10, or my third least favorite album, is Pale Communion. And I really like this album. I feel like from now on, the whole rest of the list, I feel like these are like the albums that I like, really like. I mean, this album is just really good. I mean, the first track, Eternal Rains Will Come, is like probably my favorite off of here. It's so good. It's so good. The intro to that is so cool, and I really love the end, where it kicks into the dun 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 dun. I just love the transition into that, and that whole end part. It's just so good. And the outro to the song is so good. Cusp of Eternity is obviously like the most popular one off here, and that's just an amazing song. Everything about that song is so good. It's just a good song. Moon Above, Sun Below is a great long, epic song. Elysian Woes is a good song. Goblin is a good song. River's a great song. Voice of Treason is good, and Faith in Others is a great outro. And I feel like the first half really shines a lot on this album. Don't get me wrong, the second half is good too, but I feel like the first half is just really good. and I feel like it's better than the second half. But I mean, it doesn't stop the second half from being good too. Yeah, this is just a really solid album. I feel like it's Heritage, but done better, in many ways, and I feel like I feel like there's a lot of replay value in this album, more than the other two, especially Heritage. Yeah, let's get on to number 9. All right, number 9, which is the first one I have on physical copy, is Sorceress, which a lot of people might disagree with, because a lot of people put this as their least favorite, or just like their second least favorite. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't like it that much, and I really like this album. I mean, what is it? Paris Phone, the intro, is a great song, or however you want to pronounce it. I don't know. It's a great intro. I love that song. Sorceress I really love Sorceress. That's a great song. I love the chorus. I love the fuzziness to the guitar, and I love the chung 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 it comes in with after the intro with the bass and like the keyboard. And I really like that song. The Wildflowers is great, or however you want to pronounce it. But the Wildflowers is a great song. I really do like that song. Will o' the Wisp is a beautiful song, and it's such a good song. It's such a calm, soothing song, and it's just a nice, happy song to listen to. One song that's very underrated on this album that I'm just gonna jump straight to talking to is Strange Brew. I think that song deserves more praise. I love that song. It's like one of my favorites on this album by far, and it's just such a good song. I feel like no one mentions that song. What else on this album is great? Chrysalis, I think it is. That's another underrated song. I love that song. Sorceress 2 is okay. What else? A Fleeting Glance is a good song. Era is a really, really good song. I really like Era, and the outro, the ending song, Paris Friend Slight Return's good. And the Seventh Sojourn, I didn't mention that one. It's good too. It's a cool little cool little song. I guess I can kind of see why some people put this at last, but for me, just definitely not. I really like this album. Cover art's neat too. I haven't really talked about the cover art at all in the other ones, but yeah, I really like the cover art on this one. But yeah, this is a really solid album for me. I love this one. On to number 8. Number 8 is Morning Rise, and this album, this is their second album, and I feel like this album still carries a little bit of a black metal influence, but definitely not as much as the first album. And this album definitely has, I think, a bit more progressive elements to it, and I think this album shows a lot of what they were to become, and the album that they were going to form into, with a lot more random acoustic breaks. And let me just go through the songs. Advent is a great song. I love the intro to it. The bass on that song is very neat. I love it. Night in the Silent Water is great. I love that song. Nectar is a great song. Black Rose Immortal or To Bid You Farewell are tied for like my favorite song on here. I don't know which one I like better. I don't know. But Black Rose Immortal just speaks for itself. I feel like every Opeth fan knows how good that song is. But for those of you who don't know, it's like a 20-minute song. It's such a good song. Every part of that song is so good. I mean, from the very first where it sounds so dark to when it goes into all these different other parts and segments that are so beautiful. And I mean, every part, and we can't praise this song enough. And the ending to it is so dark and ominous, and it's so good. Oh, it's and it starts like fading in. Just listen to it on your own if you don't know it. And To Bid You Farewell is the emotional acoustic song, and this proved that they could really make some softer songs that could really haunt your soul. And it's a soft, clean, nice, beautiful song. And actually, I might as well go into it. This song means a lot to me because it reminds me of my friend Jared that died. It was back in he died back in April of 2018, and I actually did a cover of "To Bid You Farewell," and I uploaded it to my SoundCloud profile named Upreach, and I uploaded it about. And I did the cover all by myself, and I played all the instruments and sang on it, and my singing's not that good. But I uploaded it about a month before he died, so I uploaded it like in March of 2018. And then and when he died, I decided I'd dedicate that song to him, so it's my cover of it. I dedicated it to him. And it's an emotional song for me to listen to. And there's actually another song that reminds me of him. There's this other girl that committed suicide in our school like a month before him, and this song and the other song I'm going to talk about later reminds me of just both of them. I think it's a really nice song, and it's just a beautiful song. Yeah, I mean, the end to Bid You Farewell is just so. I just love the end of it, where it's just the guitar in him, and it's just it's so good. And when it kicks into the heaviness, and everything about this album is so beautiful. Yeah. On to the next album. Number 8, I believe it is, if I got the number wrong, you see it on the screen, is Damnation. And of course, this is part of the 2 discs that were recorded at the same time. This one was released about 6 months after Deliverance, and they were both recorded at the same time. And something that's neat is that I was actually born while they were recording Deliverance and Damnation, because they started recording it, I think it was July 22nd or 24th, and they ended recording, and they left the studio on, I believe it was September 4th of 2002. So it was the July 22nd, 2002 to September 4th, 2002. And I was born on August 17th, 2002. So I was born right in the dead center of them recording it. And I think it's just neat. I think that's neat. Anyway, off of that, I feel like this is the first album where I can say that every single song on here is really good. And I know I've praised every single album so far, even the lower ones, on how good the songs are. But like I said, I think this is the first album that I can very much say that I really like every single song. And that's not to say that I don't like all the songs on all the albums that I ranked lower than this, but I really like every single song. I feel like this is the first album where that really happens, and occurs. Window Pane is probably my favorite off the year. I feel like that's the one that sticks out the most. The whole middle part is so good. It's ridiculous. It's so good. In My Time of Need is actually the second song that reminds me of my friend Jared that died by suicide back in April, and then the girl in my school that died of suicide also, which because I got into In My Time of Need around when they died, and it was kind of odd because that song's about suicide, and sometimes it's just a bit emotional for me to listen to, but it's such a good song, and it's just a sad song, and it's an emotional song, and I think it's just a great song, and that's probably also one of my favorites off of here. Death Whispered a Lullaby is an amazing song. The main riff to that song is so. I love the main riff to that song. What is it? I just love the lyrics and how I love the melody that he sings, and I love with every song too. Closure's a great song. It's just a great song. Hope Weaves is a great song. Toward the Z's is a great song. Ending Credits, I think, is a bit underrated. I really love. I love. It's just a cool little jamming song. I love the little main riff in that one where it's like dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about, that riff. And then Weakness is a great ending to the song. And I love the album cover. The album cover is very ominous and creepy, and I think it's a neat little weird album cover. Jeez, I almost just dropped it. Yeah, this album is just so good. And at first I think I was gonna rank this lower. I can't remember. I think I was gonna put it below. right below Morning Rise. And then I really listened to this album more, and then I bought this disc, CD, I meant. And I mean, it's so good, and I'm happy I really listened to it more, because it's one of my favorites now, by them, no doubt. Yeah, on to the next one. Number, I don't know, it's 7 or 6, you'll see it on the screen, I need to check after this, is My Arms Are Hers, which is their third album. And this album, I feel like, kind of takes more of a progressive turn, and I really feel like this album shows what they are and what they were to become. I really felt like this showed where they were going and what they were going to become even more of than what Morning Rise did show, with more progressive elements, more random twists and turns in songs and stuff like that. And and also, let's not forget, the production on this album sounds a lot better than Morning Rise and Orchid, which I forgot to mention at the time also, that those were other two parts of those albums I didn't love, was the production. It just sounded a bit too sharp on the guitar. But I mean, but the bass was great on those albums, but that's not the point. But the production sounds so much better than what the previous albums had brought. And like, Prologue's an amazing intro. April Ethereal, or whatever you want to call it, Ethereal, is a great song, a great heavy song. When is such a good song. The intro to that song is just so awesome. I mean, like, it just sounds so good to my ears. And, like, the intro is so clean, so good, everything is so good, and it just ear rapes you. It's like, dung, 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 it's so good, and you're like, what the hell? Like, it knocks you out of your seat. It's so loud, and it comes out of nowhere and smacks you right in the face. So good. Magical is a cool little intermission transition song. Amen Corridor is a great song. It's just a good song. That leads right into the Demon of the Fall, which is like it's like one of the first popular songs by Opeth that really helped get them noticed. It was one of their first popular songs, and it deserves all the praise it gets. It's such a good song. I mean, it's kind of the same boat as When, where in the middle of it kind of goes, well, in When it's like at the very first. But in this song, in the middle of it, it goes into the little acoustic thing where it's like, you know what I'm talking about. And that jumps right into the heavy part, kicks you, smacks you in the face again, punches you in the face again. And then at the end, of course, she clean sings, and it's like a heartfelt, it's like, melody with the guitars playing, then it leads into the acoustic guitars that play, and then it goes right out and leads right into Credence, where it's the drums coming in, and and Credence is a great clean song that kind of relaxes you again before it throws you right into Karma. Karma is an amazing song, and then Karma leads you right in that Epilogue, which is a great outro, a great ending to this album. And the concept of this album is great, even though it is a bit confusing, and I still don't understand it. It's a good concept, and it's just good. It's a great album. Check it out if you're an Opeth fan. Yeah, on to the next one. I think it's 5. Number 5, which we're in the top 5 now, which might surprise some people, might not, is Watershed. And, I mean, this is a great album. Some people don't like this album that much, but I don't see why. I think this album's great. I mean, it is a bit of I think it is a bit of a transitional album to what was to come with Heritage. I mean, this is obviously a lot heavier than Heritage, and this is the last album to feature growls, death metal growls. But I think it kind of foreshadows what was to come with Heritage in a way, and the other two albums, Pale Communion and Sorceress. But I mean, every song in this album is great. I mean, Coil's a great opener. He actually sings a duet on this song, and it's a cool little song. And then it throws you right into, in my opinion, one of the most underrated Opeth songs, and probably my second favorite on this album, which is Hair Apparent, which is debatably one of the heaviest Opeth songs, maybe the heaviest Opeth song. I mean, listen to that intro. Tell me it isn't heavy. It's such a good song. It's just so progressive. It's such a good song, and it's so all over the place and scattered and weird. It's so cool. I love it. And the Lotus Eater comes out, and it's like the humming intro, and then it goes right into blast beats and craziness. That whole song is so cool. It takes all these twists and turns, and it's such a good song. Burden is one of the first Opeth songs that I got into like about a year and a half ago. Not a year and a half ago. Like back in November 2017, I really got into them. Burden was one of the first songs that I listened to, along with like Leper Affinity and stuff like that. And Burden is such a good song. I mean, everything about that song is so good. I mean, the guitar solo, that whole guitar solo part at the end, it's such a good song. It's such a good song. It's such a good solo. I meant, and the outro with the guitar, and it's going out of tune even more. I think that's a neat outro. I love it. Porcelain Heart is great. Hessian Peel is a great song. Really like Hessian Peel. And the Hexomega. Now, Hexomega is one of the two songs I was talking about earlier that I got into at the same time. And this is the one that didn't have death metal growls. And I'll get into the one that had death metal growls later. But I remember listening to this song, like I said, back in 2013 when I was 11. And as soon as I went to get back into Opeth, I listened to the other song, and Hexomega. And as soon as I listened to Hexomega, nostalgia hit me immediately, and I had like deja vu, And I was like, geez, I remember listening to this. And then the same thing with the other song. But yeah, it's such a good album. I love the album cover. Every song in here is great. I think it's an underrated album overall. Though some people do have it higher in the ranking, and some people have it very low in the ranking. But I'm one of the people that has it more in the higher part. And, yeah, on to number 4. Number 4, and this and Watershed were hard to rank, and I wasn't sure where I wanted to place them, but I decided I want to put this one here, and the last one there. 4 is Ghost Reveries. And this album, I mean, is so good. I mean, all the songs on here are great. I mean, the opening song, Ghost of Perdition, is easily in my top 5 Opeth songs. And the way I see that song is that I feel like if you took all of Opeth's songs, right, and you mashed them together into one song, I feel like that song would be Ghost of Perdition. I feel like it has everything that Opeth has to offer. It has clean vocals, has extremely harsh vocals, growling vocals, heavy guitar, clean guitar, the double bass drum, everything has slow parts, fast parts, everything has everything Opeth needs to offer. Mellotron, keyboard, everything. That song is so good. It's such an epic song. Goes into Bang of the Hounds, which is a great song. I mean, that's a whole awesome song by itself. Also, Beneath the Mire, which is a great awesome song. Atonement, which is a cool interlude thing. Reverie / Harlequin Forest, which is another amazing song. That's probably my second favorite off this album, behind Ghost of Perdition. And that whole song is a whole thing on its own too. It's such a good song, and I cannot praise that song enough either. Hours of Wealth is a great song. The Grand Conjuration is a really cool, awesome, long song as well. And Isolation Years is a great song to just finish off this amazing album. And, I mean, this is the last album that featured what is my favorite, is their, prime best lineup, which was Martin Lopez, Martin Mendez, Pete Lindgren, and Michael Ackerfeld. And Per Weinberg, I think. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but yeah, they all kick ass in this album. This is a great album, and if you haven't listened to this, listen to it. All right, just go do it. Yeah, that's number 4. Now we're into top 3, which this is about to get real spicy. Top 3, and this is where you guys might get a little bit annoyed in the top 3 right now. So just be prepared to get a little bit triggered, possibly. All right, number 3 is Still Life, which I'm actually kind of surprised I put here. I thought this was going to be number 1 or number 2, but when I reevaluated everything, this is where I decided to put it. I mean, this is when, back probably a year ago now, which is, it's crazy how fast time flies, but probably a year ago now, I watched Cover Killer Nation's Opeth albums ranked, and he put this at number 1, and at the time I was like, oh, I don't really know that album, what is, and then I listened to it, and I instantly fell in love, especially with songs like the first song I listened to on that album was Moonlapse Vertigo, because I recognized that song title, and I was like, oh, screw it, let me listen to it, and I loved it. And then the second one I listened to was Face of Melinda, which is a great Queen song. Anyway, let me just go through the songs actually first. The More is an amazing, probably in my top 3 favorite on here. I don't know if it's my favorite or not. It might be, I'm not sure. But The More is an amazing song. The intro is really neat, and also this album I feel like has a lot more of has more jazzy elements to it too. So does like all the other ones, but I feel like this one really starts to shine with the jazzy influences, and like just yeah, I mean, so we have The More, like I just talked about, which is a great song, and it goes into the awesome riff. The main riff, in my opinion, is like so good. It's like I love that whole thing, and then I love the awesome, cool riff. It's like it's such a good riff, and everything about the song is great. And then when it goes into the jazzy Queen guitar, and it's like dun 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 dun. I'm speeding that up. And then it goes into the heaviness, and it's just going crazy. It's such a good song. Godhead's Lament is an amazing song. Benighted is a cool little just acoustic song with singing. Obviously, I talked about Moonlapse Vertigo, and that whole song is just so good. And I just can't praise it enough. And it's the first song I listened to off this album. It probably might be my favorite off this album. I don't know. But the whole song is just amazing. Face of Melinda is so good. The intro, as soon as I listened to that, the first couple seconds of it, I instantly fell in love with it. It's so, that whole first part is just so, everything about it's so beautiful, but the first part just grabs me, and it pulls me in, and it just gets me so hooked into the whole song. And then it gets heavy at the end, and it's like, dude, I don't need to hum it out. It gets so heavy at the end, and it's such a good song. Surrounding the Pain to Death, it leads right into this so well. It's such a good, heavy, crazy song that it ends on White Cluster, which is amazing. And the concept for this album is great. I think it's a neat concept. They did a good job with the story. Yeah. All right, on to number 2 and 1, which might annoy some people. Number 2, which determines what number 1 is, and this will most likely piss people off, maybe, I don't know, is Blackwater Park. And Blackwater Park is so good, and it not so good, it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, and The Leper Affinity is easily my favorite off of this album, and I feel like it's a bit of an underrated song. I definitely hear people talk about it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like everybody's like favorite off this album is usually Bleak, Drapery Falls, Blackwater Park, obviously, or Harvest, and all of this deserve to be. All of these are amazing songs, but for me, Leper Affinity just beats them all, and I think Leper Affinity is just so good. And Bleak is an amazing song. I love the whole middle part of that song. Also, back to Leper Affinity. That whole song's amazing. The middle part of that song's amazing, where it goes into the acoustic and everything, and then the end of that song before the piano is probably one of the best parts of any song of all time. Like it's that riff where it's like there's just a bass, everything put together sounds so good. That whole end part before the piano is amazing. Listen to that. It's so good. It'll give you chills immediately. Goes right into Bleak, which is an amazing, amazing song. Probably my second favorite off here, maybe. I don't know. And then that has Steven Wilson singing on it, and of course he's the man. He helped produce this album and other ones like Damnation, and Deliverance. Bleak it's just such a good song. The middle part is so good. It's help me kill you, and the whole acoustic behind that, and then it goes into the whole hard riff, and it's so good. And then Harvest, of course, is a nice acoustic song that settles you for a bit, lets you relax. And then the Drapery Falls comes in, and that's like a classic. I mean, it's a lot of people's favorite off of this album, and that makes sense. It's such a good song. Dirt for November is great, really good song. Funeral Portrait's amazing, really good song. Patterns in the Ivy is a cool little interlude. Cool little interlude. Blackwater Park, of course, is an amazing outro, and that song is just badass. That song is just completely badass. And it's such a good album, and this is the first album that I remember listening to when I got into them like fully, like I said, back in November 2017. So I remember it was right around Thanksgiving, and it was Thanksgiving break, so it was November of 2017. Something about Opeth that I didn't mention is that they really. Another thing about them that's just so good, and with this album and all albums they've released, I feel like, is that they really make you imagine and take you to places. And I feel like whenever I listen to them, they always remind me of the forest, and like this album picture completely like resembles that. And it always reminds me of a forest or like some sort of woods. I can't explain it, but they're so good at putting you in like a different, like they put you in. It's so cool, and like how it's just so cool. I love their music so much. Yeah. This is number 2. Now on to number 1, which might annoy some people, possibly. Another thing about Blackwater Park that I forgot to mention is that the production sounds spot on in this. Like I think everything sounds so good on this, and so does Still Life. But I feel like with Blackwater Park, it really everything got set in stone, and this is where it really sounded like perfect. And yeah, just okay. On to the next album. I'm ready to go. Number 1, and I wasn't sure where I was gonna place this. I knew it was gonna be in the top 3, but I decided to be number 1. It has to be for me. Is Deliverance, which a lot of people will not agree with, but it's just so good. This is okay. Let me first go into it. Deliverance, the title track, Deliverance, is the song along with Hex Omega that I listened to first. It was part of the first 2 songs I listened to by them, and it was the song with the growls I was talking about. And that was just, and Deliverance, when I listened to it at the time, it hooked me. I loved it so much, and like I said, I think it's so unique that I like that song, but at the time I didn't like growling or screaming. And anyway, let me go through the songs and then we'll talk about Deliverance more. Wreath is a great opener. I will say that the second half of it I think is a lot better than the first half of it. I do like the first half, but the second half is just really makes the song better in my opinion. And Deliverance, it's just everything about the song is so good. The heaviness of it, and then it goes right into the cleanness with the acoustic guitar, the clean guitar, clean part of it. And then it's everything, all the transitions, everything, and in the middle acoustic part before it goes to the breakdown, where it's like it's just so good. Everything is so good. Goes into the breakdown, which is amazing, and everything is so good on that song. It's my favorite. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it's my favorite Opeth song by far. Leper Affinity is my second favorite, I'd have to say. And it's Deliverance is such a good song. I can't keep going on. I'm gonna annoy you guys. This album, I feel like it shows so much variety, and I feel like I said with Ghost Edition, I feel like this album really shows everything that they can do and what they're capable of, with clean singing, clean guitars, heavy vocals, growling vocals, and super heavy guitar and everything. It just shows all of their talents and what they can do, and what they're capable of and their diversity. And to be fair, they do that with mostly all of their albums, but this one does it well. Like probably the best in my opinion. But A Fair Judgment is an underrated song. I love A Fair Judgment. It's such a good song. The guitar solo, of course, is the second guitar solo. The first one's great too. The second guitar solo, of course, is usually regarded as the best Opeth solo, which I probably agree with. It's such a good solo. It has so much meaning to it. Other great solos by them though are The Devil's Orchard. Like I said, the last solo on that one is just amazing. The solo on Deliverance, actually, the first solo and the second solo are great, amazing. All Opeth solos are amazing, but those are the ones that stick out to me that I think of right now. The whole Fair Judgment is just so good, and then at the end it goes into the softness, piano, singing, and then it goes into that heavy riff that's so dark. I keep humming out riffs, but it's so dark. You know what I'm talking about. And it's just brutal. And it's so good. And then it goes into For Absent Friends, which I think is the most. Honestly, I think it's the most memorable Opeth interlude or intermission song. That's a great one. And then it leads right into Master Apprentices, which is such a good song. And the intro is so heavy. It's so good. It goes from such a nice, beautiful song, For Absent Friends, to this heavy, crazy song. And that song so progressive, weird time signatures, weird drum patterns, everything you could ask for Opeth. And then it goes into that awesome part where it sounds like a choir. It's Michael singing, and it's all of his voices combined, where it's that whole part. And if you watch the documentary of this song and Damnation being made, you see that. And Steven Wilson obviously helped produce this album, Damnation, and then also other albums they have, Blackwater Park. That whole part's great, and then it goes back into the heaviness, and it leads. It's so sudden from the cleanness to the heaviness, and it's so good. And By the Pain I See in Others is such an underrated song in my opinion. It's so good. I mean, I love at the intro of it how it kind of. You hear it kind of playing muffled, and it's not that loud, and then it kind of extends and gets louder and louder, and then it just jumps right in and hits you and punches you right in the face. And then it keeps doing that, and then it goes into the acoustic mellow part, and then it's his weird vocal technique that they use, and it sounds vibrato-y and weird and all muffled, and then it just jumps right back into the heaviness, and everything about the song is just so good. It's so progressive, and leads right out, and then it's the outros, the ending to that song is so good. The ending to the album's great. It's where it's dun 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 burn, and it just holds that note out. I know that's not spot on. The ending's not spot on, but I mean that's what it kind of sounds like. And the album art is so creepy, ominous, and weird, and it's so dark and odd, and it's so cool. It's so creepy now. Just like Damnation. It's such a good album. Deliverance, I feel is very underrated also, and it's overlooked because of the album that released before it, which was Blackwater Park, because everybody was so stunned by Blackwater Park and everybody loved it, and it was their first album that I feel a lot of people looked at, and it got them more popular, and it's for good reason. I mean, it's a great, amazing album. Blackwater Park's a masterpiece, but I think people completely looked over and scanned right over this one, and I think this one is. I think Blackwater Park is so close to being as good as this one. I think this one just, for me, it beats it by a little tiny hair. I'd like this one just a little bit better, and another thing that's neat is that, like I said, they were recording this album and Damnation at the time of me being born. I was born in the middle of them recording both this album and Damnation. And I always kind of think of that as a little sign. Maybe I like it. Maybe it's a little sign why I like it so much. And it released I think it released November 12th, 2002. So I have a good memory for dates, and so that's 3 months after I was born. And I think that's just a cool, maybe little sign that's why I like it so much, and like I don't know. But yeah, that's my number one, and that's my ranking for Opeth. Yeah. Alright guys, that's my ranking for Opeth's albums, and I know a lot of you guys didn't agree with my ranking, so please leave your rankings in the comments. I'd really like to see them, and yeah, have a good day.